Hey guys, it's Jamie, bringing you another episode of Recovery Inspired Hope. And Athens, Georgia, we have been waiting for this night. We have the amazing recovery influencer, Dru Hicks from Indiana here, and he's going to share with us his experience and his story of triumph tonight. So Dru, so glad that you're here. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
We have a huge fan base in Athens, Georgia, just so you know.
I appreciate all of them very much. I love them dearly.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, you wanted the clean and sober Dru or the nasty Dru?
You know, where you came from. I know you're a dad and
Oh, I am a full-time dad. Absolutely. At home with me, I have a 15-year-old daughter who thinks that she knows everything. Okay. And I have a 7-year-old daughter who I'm scared of. So yeah, I am a full-time father, and I have an amazing family, amazing life because of God and what recovery's done for me. So yeah, outside of family, I am a national recovery advocate. I advocate to people to find recovery or treatment, sober living, whatever it may be. I have resources for people in every state in this country and resources around the world. So to say that I'm busy is putting it mildly. So
awesome. That's great. We have a whole like army of recovery warriors out here in Athens, Georgia, in the state of Georgia. So when the next time, whenever coronavirus calms down or whatnot, and if you're touring, you've got to come and see and just check out how Georgia recovers. Because
I'm excited about Georgia.
Yes.
I know I've heard about some good things about Georgia, and I was actually supposed to speak in Georgia before Corona hit. But I'm in the process of trying to reschedule events and stuff. So, but I would love to get down to Georgia. I've heard some amazing things about your guys' recovery communities.
Yes. So tell us a little bit, so how long do you have sober?
I have 4 years and 7 months.
Nice. So what happened in your life that you came to this decision that you wanted to do something different?
Oh, I'm a hard head. It took a long time. I was in active addiction for 25 years, IV drug user for 22 years of that. I wasn't never going to do it by myself. So I'll say it like that. I was never going to, I would have never got clean. God intervened in my life. It was you either get clean or you die. My life came to I spent the majority of my life in prison because of poor choices I made with drugs. I spent 15 years of my life in prison. I lost my children in my active addiction due to my behavior and the courts not deeming me a fit father. I lost everything, and it still wasn't enough. My kids weren't enough to get me clean. My parents were never enough. No person that I loved was ever enough for me to ever push my life towards recovery. So like I said, February 26th, 2016, which is my clean date. I call that the day I started living. God intervened. I had been pulled over with a substantial amount of drugs in the car. Okay, with my felony history, I'm a 13-time felony. I have 13 felony drug convictions and 56 misdemeanor drug convictions. And so with that record, with the amount of drugs I had in the car, now I was probably getting ready to spend the rest of my life in prison. So, and I had a pistol, and I was just going to be, I was going to do suicide by cop. I didn't know if I was going to kill myself or I was going to let the cops kill me because I pulled the gun on them. I just knew I didn't want to spend the rest of my life in prison. And I remember sitting in my car that evening with the drug task force surrounded my car, guns on me. It was one of those surreal moments in your life where you have to make a decision, but you have to be right about this decision. Okay. Because the wrong decision, could cost you your life. So I was going to pull this gun. I had a hand on the gun, and the cops didn't see it. It was dark, and they didn't know I had my hand between my legs, or it was under my seat. And I kept a picture of my little girls on my speedometer. Okay. And I just, for some reason, looked down at the speedometer, and there they were staring at me. It was like, I'm like telling myself, stop looking at me. I'm going to do this. My kids, they're tiny then too. This little innocent faces looking at me. And I'm like, So it was enough for me to let go of the gun and go to jail, and so I remember the cell I got put in, R6, sitting there, and said a prayer to God, and I've said many, many foxhole prayers throughout my life. Okay, God, if you get me out of this, we've all said those kinds of prayers, but for the first time in my life, I actually meant it, and I wholeheartedly meant every word I said to God, and I just told him, if you help me this last time, I don't deserve this, and I know I don't, because of the life that I've led, and the people I've hurt, and the things I've done, I don't deserve anything from you. But if you help me, I promise I will devote my life to recovery. And not only that, I will pull as many people out of the hell from which I came with me. And I left it at that. Nothing. God don't answer prayers overnight, So it took 2.5 months. I'm in the county jail. I get a guard tells me to come to the front door, and they said, "Well, we're willing to offer you." The first plea bargain was 50 years, and the second one that came this time, we're saying, "Well, we're willing to give you this drug court program." I had a probation officer fighting for me, right? She wanted me. I don't know what she said. She said she's seen something in me, but I don't know what she's seen. But she got me drug court, and that's how my recovery started. God. Because see, God likes to call me out on my stuff. He likes to remind me, "Hey, remember that prayer that you said to me? Well, I'm gonna need you to follow through with that." And so that's what I did. I was a sober living. I was part of the plea bargain. I had to go to sober living, and I had to do this drug court program, which I graduated both those programs perfectly. And God placed it in my heart to do something as far as the online recovery community was going. So I created a group called Clean and Sober. That's What's Up. And I created that sitting on the front porch of a sober living house well over 4 years ago. And the group's name was inspired from my 15-year-old kid. She was always calling me every first 2 weeks I was in sober living. "Dad, are you clean and sober?" I'm like, yeah, baby. Yeah, I am. She's like, "That's what's up." So that's how I got Clean and Sober. That's what's up. And which now is a licensed trademark, and now she's wanting me to give her money for it too. So it's a long story. But that's how it started. And then I just started working on myself, because that's what recovery is about, getting out of self and working on ourselves and I work a 12-step program. I'm a proud member of Narcotics Anonymous. I work a program, got an amazing higher power, which I choose to call God in my life. And then I just started, I started from the bottom. We don't get to the top, we gotta build, brick by brick. And my willingness is truly what got me to where I'm at today. I've just learned to take life in stride. Recovery has given me that ability to take life as it comes, not to be fearful of what's going to happen tomorrow or what I've done in the past. God has forgiven me, and I most importantly on this earth have forgiven myself. Because I think as an addict we tend to beat ourselves up a lot. So I've learned to forgive myself and move forward in life. And God has blessed me beyond my wildest dreams, man. God has opened so many doors. I get the opportunity to travel around the world today, carrying a message of hope through God about recovery. And so, what better life to live than that? It's amazing.
Yes, and I love how you speak out about your recovery, because I always say when I lost my anonymity, my chains of guilt and shame were broken, and I became empowered to share this message of hope. And I think that it's so amazing and it's so important for people to speak out, especially where we're trying to stomp out this shame and stigma that is still attached to persons with substance use disorder. So I'm really excited about the fact that you created this group and these platforms where people can speak out about their recovery and about how God has changed their lives. What about some miracles that you've seen in your recovery?
Miracles. Okay, well, due to me putting my willingness to putting myself in recovery, I think the biggest miracle that pops in my brain is, like I told you earlier, that I lost my children in my active addiction. Well, today I have complete and full custody of my girls. today because of what recoveries. That's a miracle. I'd given up hope when it came to my children. You know, I just wrote them off, and unfortunately, that's sad to say, but that's how I was. You know, like it was just, oh, it's just another thing I lost. I lost my kids. Oh well, you know, another reason to stay in my self pity. Um, uh, I was blessed to give my father, before he passed away, 2.5 years of my recovery. I had not spoken to my father for 15 years because of my addiction, and we the miracle in that was that I was able to rekindle that relationship with my father, and for him to finally see the man that he raised to be, you know, come to life. And uh, yeah, it was my father was a giant among giants in my eyes. He really truly was. And just to hear him tell me that he's proud of me was everything for me, you know. And it's just that it's a driving force. You know, I lost my dad almost 2.5 years ago, unexpectedly, and it was devastating. You know, that's what I've learned about recovery the most, is that, you know, the time that we have on earth is precious. You know, we don't think about that when we're out there running and gunning. We think we're invincible. We think we got all the time in the world to get clean. We got all the time in the world to mend relationships with people that we love. Um, God blessed me with that opportunity, and the 2.5 years of rekindling that relationship, you know. So that is probably one of the biggest miracles of what I've been able to accomplish as far as my relationship with my father and my mother and my family, my children, you know, being able to wake up and see them every morning. I wake up, you know, in my home with me, you know, is it's probably one of the biggest miracles that I think. Also, you know, God is a huge part of my program. He's a huge part of my life. You know, I do an extremely amount of live videos, as you know. I always give the glory and credit to God, you know, because he just gives me the words, you know. He uses my voice to carry a message through him. And so uh, I am, sometimes in the recovery community, people say, oh, you can't talk about God the way you do. You know, there's a stigma when it comes to God too. So let's not get it twisted. But my opinion, Dru Hicks' opinion, is that I have a hard time believing that any recovery in the world will ever be successful without God in it. My opinion. So, you know, I talk a lot about God because I have to plant that. He put me on this earth to plant that seed, you know? And so yeah, God is a huge part of my life and my recovery. And the miracle in itself is that I'm still breathing today. Okay, I was a needle addict, like I was telling you. I experienced three. I'm not going to go into my grimy, nasty story, but I had 3 overdoses. The last one near fatal. I was actually dead for 4 minutes. And I remember that day vividly, waking up, my daughter crying at the foot of the bed. She was 9 years old at the time, saying that, "Why am I not enough for you to get clean, Daddy?" You know, and she was right. You know, two hours later, after getting discharged from the hospital, I was sticking a needle in my neck again. You know, she was never enough. But today, she's every reason to stay clean. So, yeah.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, your transparency in that. That was, um, I can definitely relate to that for sure. So for my last question, like, what advice would you give to a person who maybe was considering recovery, wants to get sober, doesn't know how, doesn't know if they're worthy? What would you say to them?
Well, if they're considering recovery, they're heading in the right direction. Okay. A recovery always starts with a single thought. Okay. I remember vividly being in my active addiction for over a quarter of a century. Many times during that 25 years, I thought about it, you know, because my mother and my father, I have some really God-fearing parents, you know, raised me the right way. They were the ideal parents. My choices were my choices, not how my parents raised me. But so they'd always planted the seed of recovery, you know. Everybody who loved me kept planting that seed. So to say that those seeds don't eventually grow, they do, you know, and they'll stick with us in our subconscious. My best advice to any brother or sister who's struggling right now, you know, contemplating recovery. Well, the thing about recovery is we're not fence riders over here. We don't ride the fence. We're either all in or we're not. Okay. And you hear a lot, and this is a very discouraging bit of information that the world seems to pass around, and I don't know why. Moms and dads or other people saying, oh, my child has to want it. They got to want it. That's not true. Okay. They got to be willing. Okay. As long as they're willing, because when I came into recovery 4 years and 7 months ago, I didn't know what I wanted. I knew I didn't want to die. I knew that much. Okay. But I knew I had to be willing. Okay. I had to be a willing participant to this thing called life. And so I was willing. As I worked my program, as I put God at the forefront of my life, I'd always known God. Recovery reintroduced us. Okay. But I put God, as my higher power at the forefront of my life. And I implemented this 12-step program into my life, and I got willing. Okay. And then as I worked my program, as I, worked on my faith in God, I really truly seen how much I wanted it. So the willing comes before the want. Okay. But once you realize it, and once you grasp a hold of the want, there's not a doubt in my mind that this will be who you are for the remainder of your life. I was a very sick man. Okay. And never believed that I would ever be able to get it, so to speak. I had forecasted I was going to be the addict who died with a needle in his arm under a bridge somewhere. That was going to be my fate, without family around, by myself, alone. My biggest fear, while I still had my kids, was them coming in and finding me dead. Okay. And so I always made sure that I didn't do that around the house or around them. Okay. That was one of my I didn't want to have to traumatize their life by finding me dead somewhere on a couch or in the bathroom. So my best advice also, if you're thinking about it, there's your answer. Okay. If an addict in active addiction is thinking about recovery, they are at the bottom. Okay. Because I never contemplated recovery when I was first started doing drugs. It was fun, right? I did drugs because they made me feel good. I was fun. I only contemplated recovery when I had been beaten and broken to the point of literally almost no return. Okay. So if you're thinking about it, there's your answer. You're thinking about it for a reason, because you're broke. Okay. So what you're going to have to do is, like I said, you're going to have to put yourself in a willing perspective and step into this thing called uncertainty. Okay. And vulnerability is the only place that creates growth. And so if you are contemplating it, please reach out to me. I would love to help you. I have, like I said, I have resources for every state in this country. I have no problem opening the door, but I'm going to need you, brothers and sisters, to walk through it.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. You guys, make sure you check out Dru's Facebook page, Clean and Sober. That's what's up. And also make sure you subscribe to Jamie Tall on YouTube. And we will see you next time on our next episode of Recovery Inspired Hope. Dru, thank you so much. Dru Hicks out of Indiana. Thank you for coming and hanging out with Athens, Georgia.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.